Hello everybody, GC13 here, and it is time for controversial opinions. The AI in Stellaris really has no idea how to go about building things. Now, this footage that I'm going to show you is from a single colony from a single AI empire in a game of Stellaris in Banks Update 1.5.1. I started with 13 AI empires, and then observed. I picked one that seemed to be far away from everybody else, who would be unlikely to get into any wars while I observed, but other than that, I just sat back and waited for them to do their first colony, and then we're going to see how they choose to build up that colony, and we're going to see that they make some very curious decisions, I should say. Unless you think that this is just, me going behind the scenes and actually picking out the one colony where it does a bunch of stupid stuff. Rather than just sit and wait for them to colonize, I took the time to go to every race's homeworld, back when they only had one planet, and just check to see what they were building on all of their slots. And as you can see here in these screenshots, they do not seem to be respecting the power of minerals. This is something I would never ever do in any game I was playing. Take a perfectly good mineral tile and put something that didn't produce minerals on it, especially to build Unity. The AI loves getting Unity, and I just do not think that it is worth what the AI thinks it is worth. You'll note that I have screenshots from 11 of the 13 empires, one of which had 2 problems on their planet. So this is, again, a widespread problem. With that, let's get to our colony. The very first thing I want to mention is actually its choice of colony location. This is a terrible location for it. Yes, it is giving 2 power naturally, the most it could get from any slot. However, not only is it adjacent to 2 science-giving tiles, which I would normally prefer to put labs on, and labs do not get the adjacency bonus for being next to the planetary capital, but it is also on Betharian stone. And Betharian stone, once you research the Betharian power plant, can give you a whole lot of power. So I would prefer to put it up here, where it's adjacent to 2 tiles that'll give +1 power, and then a 3rd tile where it can put anything it wants. A mine, another power plant, anything it would like. Yes, it would lose out on a 4th adjacency bonus, but it would probably be best to keep that +3 to scientific research it gets, because, at most, it's losing +2 adjacency bonus to either minerals, food, or energy. And as we will see, as we get in here later, the AI does not even make use of all 4 possible adjacency bonuses anyway. So it basically parked its capital on Betharian stone for absolutely nothing. So, as soon as the AI settles its colony, it immediately decides to build a basic mine on a 1 mineral, 2 food tile, when it has a perfectly good 3 mineral tile available to it. Again, why would it do this? But that's okay, we're going to get to the AI doing something even stupider. It immediately realizes that it made a bad decision and should put a basic mine on that 3 mineral tile. So it starts working on that, but does not move its pop over to the tile where it can be getting 3 minerals instead of 2. And then, of course, once the new mine finishes, it realizes that that old mine is hogging up 2 units of food, so it needs to get torn down to make room for a farm. It does not end there, however. The AI decides that what it needs is power, and I have seen in the few times that I've watched the AI just go about its building, it dramatically overemphasizes power in the early game. When it needs to be all about minerals, it seems to be all about power. So, to solve that power problem, it puts in a brand new basic power plant on a blank tile when it has 2 perfectly good tiles for energy that it could be building it on, and a 3rd tile where it has 1 energy and 1 mineral, and given the choice, I will usually put the energy there because the mine costs maintenance and the power plant does not. Apparently, though, the AI regretted its decision and chooses to replace the basic power plant with a temple. However, it did not regret the decision so much that it didn't want a basic power plant, so after it's done tearing the power plant out to put in a temple, it decides to put in a new basic power plant again on a tile that does not give an energy bonus, even though it has 2 perfectly good energy tiles and then a third one that I, as a player, would probably choose to put a power plant on. The AI, of course, eventually decides that this basic power plant isn't any good for it either, and it really needs to go. And what it needs, most of all, is a symbol of unity. The AI then proceeds to build yet another basic power plant, this time finally managing to put one on a tile that gives +1 energy, but again, it didn't choose one of the tiles that only gives a bonus to energy. It has to put it on the tile that will also give it a bonus to minerals, should it decide it need minerals later. Again, I don't think that it's bad that the AI decides to use this tile for power generation. That is probably what I would use it for as well, but I would also use this tile last. I have 2 tiles that only give energy bonuses, so I might as well get my power from them first. You never know. The AI also decides that the temple has to be torn down again. This time it needs to be a basic power plant, so again, this is what this tile started out as. And again, I keep harping on it because the AI keeps not noticing, but there are tiles where this power plant would be more productive. The temple is not costing maintenance while unused. The temple only costs maintenance if worked, so there is absolutely no good reason for the AI to be tearing down the temple if it has other places where the power plant would be better to put. As we can see here, the AI managed to get the Mastery of Nature Ascension perk, a pretty good one if you're having a resource-poor start, I think, as the AI definitely seems to have, since it has so much trouble managing what resources it has. But that really opens things up for it. I mean, if it had waited just a little bit longer, it could have demolished that ship shelter and put it just 1 square up, and had a much better spot for its planetary administration, but as far as I'm aware, the AI does not know to remove its ship shelter and put its planetary administration in a better spot. There's not much to say about putting in a mine on a tile that gives either +1 mineral or +2 food. It's not the decision I would make, not in the early game. Anyway, I would prefer the +2 food, but I do find that later in the game, you get so much food that maybe this one's a questionable call. However, we will see that the AI does want lots of food, so that makes its decision to put the mine here, of all places, very questionable. A frontier clinic on a +2 food tile, not bad. However, again, the AI decides that it wants a temple, and so it is going to put a temple on a +1 food tile, when, again, there is a perfectly good blank tile that is just like this one, adjacent to the planetary administration. Now, I would not want a temple in either of these locations. That level 1 power plant up there is not sitting on any resources either, and would be a much better spot for a temple. But the AI is not done. After upgrading to a planetary capital, the AI decides that what it needs most of all is more power, and rather than putting the power plant on the +1 power tile, it decides that what it needs most of all is to cover up a +2 society tile. Now, again, this is a call that I might make. For one, I would never have put my planetary capital there. I would have put it elsewhere. But it's not the worst thing to do to cover up science for power, although I would of course prefer to cover up the +1 research, although it is physics over society. But as we'll see, the AI is not making a principled good decision here. It is just lucking into a possibly acceptable decision. We get a basic laboratory on a +2 society research tile. Good decision, obvious decision. But then we get an upgrade of a Power Plant Mark 1 to a Power Plant Mark 2, which costs 90 minerals, when we have a pop working a basic power plant that would give the same +1 energy, but for only 60 minerals. So why would it make that upgrade first? Doesn't make a whole lot of sense. Now it finally gets around to making that upgrade, and then of course upgrading it to level 2, but you have a pop sitting on a +1 energy tile that could be turned into a +4 energy tile for just 60 minerals, so that would be a gain of +3 energy for 60 minerals rather than getting +1 energy for 90. So again, not the time it needs to be doing this upgrade if it's mineral constrained at all. Energy Nexus on that +1 energy tile, not bad. This does seem to be a fairly power-heavy world, at least on the top half there. And here we see the AI deciding to build a Paradise Dome on a +1 science tile because it is adjacent to its planetary capital, but there is a perfectly good blank tile sitting right to the top of the planetary capital. So again, why make this decision? You could just put in the Paradise Dome on that blank tile, and if it turns out to be necessary later to paper over that +1 science with another non-science building, you at least you kept your options open. And just a bunch of building upgrades going on. Again, while they could be adding power plant Mark 1s to these energy-producing tiles for much greater mineral efficiency than their upgrades are. Instead, they would just rather have their pops work the tiles and just get their basic bonus. Although it does eventually get around to putting in a power plant, upgrading to a frontier hospital, upgrading the energy nexus. And finally, the last building that I will be covering from this colony is a basic science lab going in on a blank tile that is directly adjacent to the planetary capital. Remember that Paradise Dome that could have gone in this tile? That Paradise Dome that is sitting on +1 physics research? Yes, if they just put the Paradise Dome in this slot, then this science lab could be getting an additional +1 physics completely for free if only the AI had been smart enough to leave its options open. At this point, the AI does a whole lot of nothing, sits around for at least 10 years. I get tired of watching, wondering if it's ever going to put a power plant on that tile or not. It keeps resettling the last guy off of the world so they can populate other worlds. But I think the point has been made. The AI is not even able to handle very simple optimization questions like, I have 90 minerals to spend. Should I spend all of it and get +1 energy? Or should I spend 60 of it and get +3? Like, that is a very simple question for the AI to answer. Or, if I want minerals, do I put it on the tile that would end up giving me 4 minerals? Or do I put it on the tile that would end up giving me 2 minerals? The AI can't even handle these basic questions, at least not initially, although again, after it has spent the minerals, it is able to realize that it made the wrong decision and basically flush 30 minerals down the drain. And 30 minerals at the start of the game, that's 3 months of productivity, or at least 2, depending on how quickly you get your mineral production up. With the AI, I would assume it would be less, since they're papering over +2 mineral tiles, so they can farm Unity more quickly, of all things. Minerals are the lifeblood of the early game. They never stop being important, but you can never get enough of them in the early game. Energy is important, but only important enough that you can feed your growing hunger for minerals. And besides, the AI wastes a lot of minerals, and it wastes a lot of potential productivity. The AI's building routines apparently still have a long way to go.